Hey there, everyone. It is Camber here with the Yo Pro No. I am here today with Anand Mahalingam, 30-year-old actor, comedian, and video editor in LA. So thank you so much for being here with us, Anand.
Thank you so much for having me. This is the first time I've ever done a podcast, so very.
Well, I am so happy to have you here, especially, given your career. One day I believe you'll probably be doing many podcasts, so I'm excited to be the first.
Cross
So,
your fingers.
yeah, fingers crossed. So, as is tradition, I always like to start off the interviews by showing how we were connected. So, if you guys who are listening or watching remember the interview we had with Vineet I guess it was a few weeks ago, the two were connected. So, how do you guys know each other?
Neith is one of my oldest and closest friends. We grew up together in Pittsburgh. We have known each other for over 20 years
Oh
now.
my gosh.
I'm actually seeing him later today, I think.
Oh, good. Well, you'll have to tell him that
I
we
know.
were
I'm
able
going
to
to tell him I
connect.
had my Camber interview. I had my Yo Pro No
That's
interview.
right.
But yeah, we're just yeah, we still have like group texts going back like 10 years. We went to the same college together and stuff.
Oh, awesome. Well,
And
I don't know if he's told you, we have a very long line of people from Pittsburgh who have interviewed with the Yo Prono at this
no
point.
kidding. I
So,
heard Shravani also did, and
yeah.
I've known her for just as long. So
Okay. Well, I see that is one of the cool things about this network. It just grows and you can always kind of trace it back to who we've interviewed, which I love. So thank you for giving us that context. But Anand, let's go ahead and just start with your brief background. So tell us, you already told us where you're from, but kind of give us just the, bird's eye view to what happened in the last 10 years of your career, from college on
sure,
and how you got to do what you were doing, and then we'll dive into the details.
sure. So I guess how it all started was when I was in college. I was not really a great student in high school, and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do when I got to college. So I went the undecided route, and I took classes in, chemistry, economics, psychology, communications, and stuff. And I had like declared as like an economics and communications double major. That thing I realized is that's like the most general two majors put together, which means you either can do nothing with that degree or you can do whatever you want with that degree. And that kind of choice or lack of choice kind of frightened me. But um, so I was kind of like uh, on autopilot through college a little bit and going through a really rough time, like mental health wise and stuff like that. And then I was on Facebook one day and I saw like they have those ads on the right side of the screen. And I saw an ad for a small little film school in Orlando, Florida. And clicked on it. Was only like, I think it was like 3.5, 4 years into me being at Pitt. I took a gap year as well when I was at Pitt. And so kind of floundering, not really like, and this was an 8-month program. So it wasn't like it was going to be another 4 years of school after that, which was important to me. So yeah, I dropped out of school, dropped out of Pitt. And it was actually really funny how my mom found out. Not tell her initially. And she got an email one day. She comes downstairs and she's like, I got an email from your school saying you haven't signed up for classes yet. What's the deal? And I was like, right, about that. I'm
Mhm.
not going back to Pitt. And within like a month or 2 months, I was down in Orlando looking at apartments.
Mhm.
And I had started at that school like right after that. So that school was called the Florida Institute of Recording Sound and Technology. It was a really small school, and don't want to say too much about that place because it's not the greatest of memories. But what it was for me was more of a jumping off point where like, growing up, I didn't really know anything about film. No one looked like me on camera, but and that part didn't bother me as much. It's just that no one around me had done it either. So I had no mentors, no touchstones, nothing like that to fall back on. So what ended up happening was with this class, it was like 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, which is just like not objectively not enough time to be teaching all that stuff. And but at least it gave me a roadmap, like a realistic roadmap as well. And so like when I came home from school, I would just self-teach. Like I bought so many books and uh, looked up so many different articles and stuff. And really that was like, I went into the classroom for class, but then I had my own classroom sort of in my apartment. I wrote a screenplay with another one of my good friends during that time, and it was just like a really good crash course. And then I went after those 8 months were over, went back to Pittsburgh and did freelance videography in the Pittsburgh area for like small businesses. I did like promotional videos for like the local hospital and for like tax guys, accountants and stuff in the area. So did that, and then met a guy who was my mentor and writing partner for the first couple of years of me being out in LA. He sort of guided me through what the actual roadmaps were, like better than the Florida school did. And I eventually, like in 2015, we're coming up on 6 years exactly of me being in LA. So
Wow. Okay.
it'll be 6 years on August 20th. So next month.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That's a great kind of, background leading up to what you're doing now. And so tell us a little bit more about what your day-to-day looks like right now as a comedian and an actor and video editor, doing everything.
Right.
Tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, it's like every day is different, which is ideal for me. I don't know, like I'm not the most uh, schedule oriented person. Kind of, I like to have a little bit of spontaneity in my day. So like, today, for example, I had an audition that was due at 11 a.m. Pacific time, so I had to get that done. And then I actually, before being on this call, I have another audition due at 6. So I got to do that, tape that with my mom as my scene partner. Which will
Love
be
that.
swearing in this script, and she does not curse, so this is going to be great.
Oh, interesting.
But and then stand up, kind of, we took a break because of COVID. Obviously, I did I got into a comedy festival that was done over Zoom, and it was the worst experience of my life. Mm-hmm. So I'm not doing any Zoom comedy shows ever again. So I wanted to wait until the live stuff was back, and it's now back. And I actually wrote my first comedy bit in a year and a half or 2 years, like a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I took a break from it because in 2018, I did a couple hour-long shows. And after you do an hour-long show, like you kind of need some time to recharge after, or at least I did. It was my first time doing that. So part of me was like, do I have anything to say anymore? Blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm back writing it, I'm doing open mics. So Pittsburgh does not, unfortunately, have quite the open mic scene that Los Angeles does. So, but I was at an open mic last night. I'll be at another one tomorrow and Friday. And then video editing, I freelance for like a couple different companies right now. I got 3 freelance jobs going. Mm-hmm. And so that's my daytime. Mm-hmm. And then, auditions and stuff will come up, which I'll have to mix in, which like helps me figure out time management, and also like helps me get like it's made me a better actor and a better editor because I have to do all of this stuff in one day. So like I'm learning my lines a lot quicker. I'm like editing a lot faster, like finding shortcuts to edit a lot faster. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's I can't believe that I'm allowed or like I'm able to do something like this for a living. And so yeah, it's that. I guess that would be a good way of describing my day to day.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I like that you like to have some spontaneity in your day to day, which makes sense. And I feel like based on what you've described, I mean, you kind of define what the gig economy is. Like you have several freelance gigs, and I would imagine that's hard to kind of keep all in your mind because that's busy.
Yeah, there's every once in a blue moon, I'll have all 3 freelance jobs fall on the same day. Like I've kind of structured it where like only one is like Monday through Friday, and then the other 2 are more on a project by project base. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sometimes like I've had to do 3 jobs in one day and tape like an audition and stuff. So when it comes to that, that's like given me it's really difficult and it's really stress inducing, but it also allows me to find ways to deal with my stress. Like that's another exciting thing that's come out of this is like being able to find outlets and stuff outside of work and out, because I always used to just think that all of this was not really work and just like an outlet for stuff, but like lately sometimes it does feel like work when it's like all of it at once.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you got to figure out like what can I do to calm myself during this time. So, and
Yeah, that's very smart. Also a very good point, because everyone needs outlets. Everyone needs to separate that from work. And I guess having something that really was not a job for you before, if it's starting to feel that way, then it's important for you to kind of reflect and realize
right.
what gets too
Right.
hard.
And that's the beauty of all of the like country opening back up and stand-up comedy, live stand-up comedy being a thing again, because I think that's the ultimate outlet. Like I can like no matter what happens during the day, like at like 8 p.m. or later, I can just go out and like professionally be, as pardon my French, part like a professional jackass out on stage,
Yeah.
sling jokes, make some people laugh, and then
Right. No, that's great. And I would be remiss if I did not ask you, like, what's your favorite bit when you're out on stage? Like, what's your favorite joke? Like, what's the right way to ask a comedian that?
uh, honestly, I've done a lot of I do a lot of different types. I guess like I'm more known as like a storyteller comic, and I'm trying to move away from that just a little bit, just for expanding horizons and stuff. Um, you know, right now I'm doing a bit, or I'm trying to do a bit about. I like poking fun at myself. You know, like my mom and I just ran into like one of her old friends from like back home, and we were talking about like and their children, and one of their kids was like trying to brag and be like, not brag, but kind of trying to say, you know, I like left engineering school and now I work in fashion, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, I'm a college dropout, and you could just see like her father's face just being like, I don't know about this guy. Maybe don't hang out with him that much.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, stuff like that. I like pointing out the funny things with like my name and being Indian and stuff like that. But yeah, I have all my material for the most part up on my Instagram page. But
Yeah, and I saw a lot on your website too. So we'll definitely make sure that we link that so everyone in the audience can, find you. What, speaking of our audience, people who are listening to the podcast or watching this on YouTube, what would you tell them if they are interested in, getting into the video editing realm or acting in comedy? What would you tell them?
So one, it's not for everybody. I mean, not to like immediately throw water on the fire. That's not my intention. But like, if you really want to do it, what you need to do, like for me, when I talked to my mom, or when I tried to convince my mom to let me do this, it was like I went through like backwards and forwards the like entire like career paths of people that I liked in the industry and stuff like that. What they had to go through, like listen to them talk about how hard it is, and then like after that I was like, is that still something I really want to do? And to me it was a resounding yes. You know, like I literally right now have no other skills, I can only do this. So I don't think I don't know if there's anything else for me out there. But one thing I will say, because for me I did kind of change careers, so to speak. When I dropped out of college, I didn't want to do, I kind of think there was like an inkling of me wanting to do this from when I was younger, but I put that put that away for a while. But for people that want to change careers and do this, I tell people this all the time. Figure out what you're good at, and then figure out what you love to do. Because what you're good at is will make you money, and that's very important. And then what you love to do, you can keep doing that on the side and building that up more and more and more. And then eventually you will also be good at what you love, and then you can make a switch, right? So for me, what I'm good at and what I love to do are, fortunately for me, they're the same thing. Like I'm good at and love to do all this stuff. So um, yeah, that's my big piece of advice for people is just know what you're getting yourself into. I had an uncle who, before I left for LA, he was like, well, what's your 5-year plan? And I was like, I don't 5-year plan. It's like, I have a 15-year plan. That's like where the minimum where it starts. So I thoroughly researched everything about every field, like, because I wasn't classically trained in any of this really. Like months of that school was not enough training. So
Right.
it was really open-ended what position I could take in the entertainment industry. And so I've settled on these positions, but really got a lot of things going. And I'm just riding all these waves until they reach the shore. So
no, absolutely. Well, it's really cool hearing just even from the beginning of the interview when you said, you know, the school you went to was really just like a jumping off point. And what year was that? When did you graduate?
2013.
Yeah. So, I mean, nearly, 10 years later, almost,
Almost.
it's really cool to see where you've come. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And one thing I always like to ask all of my interviews is, what is something that you like to do outside of the office, which I know for you, you've already talked so much about how your job really is something that you love.
Right.
Just normally what we do outside of the office, but is there anything else that you feel it would be a good answer for that?
Yeah. Recently it's been volunteering
Good for you.
to like actually one of the things I also do is screenwriting, and I was working on this like LA based detective movie, and I still am, but one of the movies that I'm using as a touchstone for that is this movie called Chinatown. uh, and like when I write screenplays and stuff, I look at the movies that I want to compare it to or that I'm taking inspiration from, figure out how they make that movie kind of, and what they went through to make that movie happen, and what their thought processes were. So when I went through the research on the making of Chinatown, I learned that they went like it's based on LA's water wars. Like LA has this really deep and awful history when it comes to water. Like it's really like the more you read into it, LA should not have existed as a city in the first place. Uh, a lot of desert land around there, but they I mean, it wasn't initially, but once everyone came in for the gold rush and stuff, they turned it into a desert. They put the land through a bunch of different droughts. So as a result, they stole water from like everywhere, Las Vegas, further north up in the valley and stuff. And so I've been, as a result, I got really interested in the LA River because that Chinatown takes place along the LA River for a lot of it and all that. And so I've been doing like LA River cleanups whenever I'm home, and really trying to, because that it's like one of those things where LA has a really fraught relationship with the LA River, and a lot of people in LA don't even know that we have a river, to be honest. So it's about promoting that awareness, and then also saying that it's a chance to make up for our bad history with the river, with displacing Latin Americans and displacing Black Americans from their homes, just so that you can build some houses and I don't know stores and stuff like along the river, like building highways and all that stuff, that redlining neighborhoods. It's a way to make up for that. And also, I'm a big climate guy, like environmentalist guy, and much of the LA River is under concrete, and it doesn't be that way. And so I actually go down there I go down there a couple days a week just to walk along. Walking is also another thing that I do outside of the office. I just walk around and I like exploring this. LA is the greatest city in the world to explore, I think. There's so much history there. I walk along the river every day. It's nice and peaceful, but also it's just like a reminder. Every time I walk along the river, it's just a reminder that there's a lot of work left to be done, and to keep working at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, great, good for you. That's so important. I think we really do, as young professionals, we have just this obligation, I think, because we are young. A lot of us, most of the time, don't have large families yet. Like, this is the time where you can
Right.
really give your time.
And the other thing about volunteering is with LA, like LA is like a rat race kind of town, right? So like every day will beat the crap out of you. And so you can feel really defeated at the end of every day.
Mm,
To the same things happen to me. I've gone through some spectacular lows, in addition to the highs that I've reached in LA. And what volunteering does for me in that sense is all this stuff is going on in your life, but you know there's a lot of other people that have it a lot worse.
mm-hmm.
Before the pandemic hit, I was actually at the LA Mission. We were planning on doing a monthly comedy show for the homeless, but we couldn't do it because we did one show which went off really well, but then COVID hit, and you know there was nothing else that we could do for that. But you know, like when it's hot outside, I try and freeze up some water bottles and pass it around to like homeless people in the neighborhood and whatnot. And
That's awesome.
it's just a reminder that there are a lot of people out there that have a lot worse situations than you. Even me, like, you know, I don't make that much money, but at least I have a roof over my head and I have a car and all those things, air conditioning, you know. So
that's a very important message for everyone listening. And so I think it's a great way to end the interview, unless you have any other words of wisdom to share.
I guess the other thing is also to anyone who's listening that seriously wants to do any of this, I am always available to reach out to. I feel like I've become kind of like everyone in my family will be like, oh, like, can you talk to this person? Like they want to do this. Yeah, I mean, because I didn't have that, you know, and it's very important. Even if you don't want to do it, if you know someone that does want to do it, like give them some sort of support. Like obviously, like not all my friends fully supported me from the beginning. It's right to be a little bit skeptical. Like I was like, I'm gonna drop out of school and go be a comedian.
Right.
Everyone like really was like, okay, sure. But at least they like read my comedy bits when I sent it to them, or like watched my comedy videos. And I never force anyone to come to my comedy shows, only if they want to or not. And luckily for me, I have like the most incredible friends in the world, and they'll come to my shows, they'll do all that stuff for me. But not everybody else has that. And I think it's important that we show support to everyone that wants to do what they want to do, but also be honest with your friends and be honest with yourself about where you stand, and like don't try and ram your head against the wall if it doesn't seem to be working out.
Right. No, absolutely. I think that is, again, just really important advice for a lot of people who are listening. But that's the whole point of the Yoprono, is to provide resources and, you know, for people to reach out if they have questions. So thank you for saying that. And thank you so much for being on the Yoprono.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Cameron. This was awesome.